Hey, 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 everybody, it's Thursday, and you know what that means? That's right, it is episode 71 of the Real Deal Pod with Allister and Geoff. I am Allister Carrington, your trusted realtor, here with you as always, alongside my main man, our trusted lender, our mortgage guru, Geoff Lee. Geoff, buddy, how's it going, buddy? You getting ready for your big trip? Our big
Yeah,
trip?
I'm getting ready. I'm getting ready. We're jumping on a plane tomorrow. Got to shave my beard that I
We're
got going on.
leaving on a jet plane.
Yeah,
That's as
yeah.
far as my singing goes, Geoff.
Leaving on a plane. Leaving on a plane. Yeah, so
I've been
looking forward to it. Just wrapping some things up before we head off to Italy and explore all it has to offer. Really looking forward to it.
amazing. Have you been practicing your Italian, my friend?
No, no.
Oh, Geoff.
I'll be
Hey,
honest.
Geoff.
I'll be honest. We booked this trip quite some time ago, and I've been so busy. I just really haven't put a lot of attention to it, which is good because it's here. It's tomorrow, and then on Saturday we'll be on Italian soil drinking some Aperol spritzes, some calamari, and everything else.
Oh,
And
well, Geoff,
put in our bellies.
che bella giornata.
See.
Oh, man, that's what a beautiful day it is in Italian.
Oh.
Come on, man. Come on, buddy. How
Hey,
about Vure un beca rel de vossa. I forget how to say that one. Hold on. Vure un bicchiere del vostro vino maggiore. I'd like a glass of your finest wine.
okay, let's do it. Let's
Come
do
on,
it.
Geoff.
I'll be better. I'll be better on my way back, I promise.
Okay, then make sure you know this one. Dove il bagno?
Dove il bagno.
Yeah, that's where's the bathroom.
Yeah, that one I will know quickly.
That's awesome, buddy. Well, we do have a, excuse me, we do have a pretty jam-packed episode today. It's a beautiful day outside. I got to get out to work after this. You got to get stuff cleaned out before your big trip. So let's kick it and let's get into it. And let's start off with podcast's most exciting and hottest segment, and that is
Did you know?
Did You
I
Know?
was gonna try to say that in Italian, but it would have just been ciao bella, and
All right, well,
I'm
yeah.
pretty sure that doesn't mean did you know.
No, no, no. And I'm not even going to try because, my Italian's weak now. So I used to know a bit, but now it's weak and I wouldn't even, I'd fail miserably. So, Geoff, did you know Premier David Eby is now tied as the second least popular premier in the entire country?
I did not know.
Yeah. So the newest Angus poll puts his approval rating at just 41%, down 5 points since June and 12 points since March. So it's not really, it's not a blip, it's a trend, and pollsters are calling it a pretty distinct downward slide. And I didn't really want to go political today, but I kind of had to because it's not hard to see why. So when British Columbians were asked what matters most, the answers have been the answer has been the same every time: the cost of living, healthcare, and housing. On all three, people simply aren't seeing the improvements, and at the same time, our province has been losing jobs. We've lost 15,000 jobs in the past in the 2 months in a row. So not just combined. 2 months in a row, we have lost 15,000 jobs each month. And our youth unemployment rate is now at 14.5%, which is double the national rate and the highest we've seen in the years outside of the pandemic.
Yeah, that's I did not know. That's pretty big actually.
Yeah. And so former Bank of Canada Governor Stephen Poloz is even warning now that Canada and the US are sliding towards recession. His words, oh, sorry, that's an alarm going off. Stop.
You know,
I'll get back in time.
as you're going with this, I hear a couple of things. I hear very similar things with every politician that's in office, federally, provincially, where they completely are sucking, and then basically we get an election, and then all of a sudden we forget why they sucked because now all of a sudden they're making all these. I'm not going to say broken promises, but all these promises. And
Well,
with recession, we've been talking about that for how long now?
what, we've been at that now for a year and a half now?
I think ever since we started this pod, which is probably almost 70 pods ago, which is 70
Yeah,
years
71.
ago,
Yeah,
we've always been on the brink of recession. So
yeah.
continue on.
No, it's true. So the thing is, though, inflation, of course, is still biting. Families are stretched thin, and businesses now are hesitant to invest with tariffs and uncertainty hanging ahead. So now let's just say Premier Abbey does have a political cushion. His main opponent, BC Conservative leader John Roustad, if at all possible, has an even lower favorability rating at just 28%. So 13% below Abbey. And listen, again, I'm moved more so to an independent away from my conservative background because of the policies and beliefs of people like Roustad and how things should be handled. But let's be honest, though, it's not really an advantage because if we as British Columbians lose faith that their leaders can make life better, it doesn't matter who's ahead on paper. So I've been thinking, what's the path forward? Well, let's look at what Abbey has on the tables right now. Abbey's plans, more subsidies, more rebates, and billions more in spending. They're designed to look like action, but in reality, I want everybody to know all they really do is push our province even deeper into debt without taking care of addressing the root problem. And coming from Manitoba, which has always been predominantly an NDP government, that is something that we always faced. We would have an NDP government in power for 12 years. They would spend our province into a mass amount of debt. The Conservatives would then be put into power. We would then balance the budget. And the moment we balanced the budget, they would then defeat the Conservative government and put back in the NDP government. And that is why we as Conservatives, that's why I became a Conservative. That's why we as Conservatives have always called Manitoba a have-not province, because they cater to the have-nots, right? So, so I want to talk about let's talk about housing, because there was a report that just came out, because really that's also been the heart of the issue. The province we have talked about in the past has set aggressive housing targets for municipalities, but new results have just come in that are telling a different story. Port Coquitlam, for example, was supposed to deliver 343 new units this year.
Yeah.
Yeah, they managed 191.
Yeah.
So
I remember us talking about that on a previous pod.
yeah, so the shortfall of about 150 homes isn't because council is blocking projects. In fact, Mayor Brad West called the targets a big farce, pointing out that almost nothing has been rejected. The truth is, cities can zone land and approve projects, but they can't force builders to start construction, especially in today's market conditions. And that is what we've talked about before. If there is nothing for our developers, there is no incentive for them to build. And how do we obtain those targets?
So what I'm hearing from you is that the Port Coquitlam wanted 360-ish kind
343.
of houses.
343.
What I'm hearing from you is that there's about 160.
Yeah, 150 that we didn't make.
And it's not that the city is declining permits. It's
Nope.
just developers have they have no incentive, or it doesn't make sense as far as a business at this point in this environment to basically act on those developments, which again,
Exactly.
we're seeing that all over the greater Vancouver area.
Exactly. And even when these units are being built, though, The province isn't matching that growth with the infrastructure that families need. So West put it this way, maybe provinces should have a target for schools, for hospitals, for family physicians, because adding density without service doesn't solve the crisis. It just shifts the pressure elsewhere. And that's why I wanted to jump into healthcare next. So the province is, he's got in his plan, is throwing billions into new facilities, right? Into new facilities. But the deal is wait times are still growing. And why? Because facilities don't solve the shortage of doctors and nurses, which is what we have in British Columbia. We have a shortage of doctors and nurses. So I decided to throw on my background in political science and running for politics and state this for healthcare. A smarter approach would be streamlining licensing for internationally trained professionals and allowing private clinics under public oversight to help reduce wait lists, and that will not drain our public system. So that's one of the things. We don't have any cohesion with any of the private practices. So if we give them some public oversight, right, it will help reduce wait times. And we have a thing where here in North America, we believe that degrees from other countries don't mean anything, when in fact a lot of their education is far higher than ours. So if we would just recognize their education, then we would have the ability to approve new doctors. And we would talk about blocking immigration. We've talked about stopping, putting a hold on immigration and stuff like that. I just want to kind of reverse back so people understand that Canada used to have an immigration policy that was revered among the world, because we didn't just take everybody. That was Trudeau, and I will say that blatantly. That was Trudeau allowing Canada to become a refugee site, right? We used to only take the best of the best. Our vetting process was monstrous.
I think in saying that and knowing some people and immigrants, and actually this can transition nicely into what I got to speak about with newcomers to Canada. But I know that within my circle, I have some friends that are immigrating to Canada, and it is now becoming a very difficult process to get your Canadian or to get your permanent residency. So I think from what it sounds like, it is reverting back to what it once looked like.
Yeah.
But also, back to recognizing education of professionals outside of our Canadian borders. That's not not going to be a simple fix on the Canadian side, because number one, no government uses their common sense very well. No. And nothing like that is just a quick decision, right? So we've been, what you're saying with doctors, what you're saying with nurses, what you're saying with education, and bringing that overseas education into Canada, they've been saying that for years, right? Like for years. That's nothing new. It's just
right.
That we're seeing a lot of shortages. In fact, we're seeing a lot of Canadian nurses, educated Canadian nurses, Canadian educated doctors that are actually leaving Canada because the pay
is a pits. Our pay is garbage.
If you go across our borders, the pay is double, maybe triple.
Triple. So, I know people that left to go to Texas where they got paid triple in salary. But that's been going on. That's also been going on since I was in university. Like I was saying, I was in university in 1998. 1999 is when I graduated from the University of Manitoba. And my friends that were in the nursing program, that's what I was saying, they went to Texas for more money. That's been going on for the past 30 years now.
Yeah. And same with the discussion of education with working professionals, right? And that's what I'm saying, is that this is not going to be resolved in the next 12 months or the next 2 years, right? Like if it's ever even going to be resolved, yes,
that's an issue.
Yeah. And that is the issue. That is 100% the issue. And it's always has been the issue. But the problem is I don't see that issue being resolved or fixed very quickly.
And what I was going to say to that was that's that is all just because we as Canadians have this ideology that our education system is better than others, right? And that is not the case, right? So that is where we have to change the ideology. That's the only reason why it's not changing, is because of our hubris as North Americans, right? And I've said this before. I say this to my children, right? My children would scoff at wanting to learn French, right? They scoff at it. No, and I say it is ridiculous that we as Canadian, our children scoff at learning a second language, and we like to think we're smarter than everybody else. When if you go over to Europe, they know 5 languages when they come out of school. So how can we as North Americans say that we're smarter than other countries when we can barely speak English correctly?
Well, and I think it's actually even deeper than that, right? If you take a look at, I forget what survey that they do, but it's a survey of, the richest people, the richest countries in the world, the most favorable countries to live in the world, education. And from what I understand and from what I remember, Canada is very low on
Yes,
that
we are.
education scale versus other
Yep.
countries, right?
Yes, we are. Yes, we are. And just to highlight, Sweden sends their children to university for free.
Yeah.
Sweden sends their children to university for free. It's just like the public education system. You just continue to go, and it's paid for. So lastly, before we jump into you, Jeff, is the economy. And I just wanted to, because we're getting these $110 ICBC checks coming out, as again, we like to think that that's some relief for people. We need real relief, people.
Yeah.
So we need tax reductions on essentials like energy and food, and we need incentives for small businesses to grow, and a stable investment environment that doesn't scare off job creators with unpredictable taxes and regulations. Like, that is my deal with the economy, right? Stop it with these stupid $110 freaking ICBC things and saying, well, that just gave you some money to buy 3 loaves of bread. Like, what a dickhead like, I'm sorry. It's just ignorant. So that is my did you know, right? That is my did you know. We've got the second worst premier in Canada right now. The only one worse is the one in Quebec. And we know how everybody in the country feels about Quebec. And Quebec doesn't love us back. So, I mean, if we take them out of it, we've got the worst dude in the entire country.
Well, even if you leave them in it, he's on the medal. He's on the medal stands.
Yeah, he's on the medal stand, right?
So,
And so guys, when it comes to voting when the next election is, really everybody think long and hard about everybody's platform and what is going to be the best for our province going forward, because we're in a rough shape, man. We're losing more jobs than any other province.
yes, that student stat is mind-blowing. 14% of students unemployed. That's
14 and a half,
right?
double the national average.
Yeah. Well, and here's the other thing too, as I'm hearing this, like, we will all always bitch and complain.
Yeah.
Everybody bitches and complains.
Always. Yep.
But here's the thing. If you're going to bitch and complain and that's all you're going to do, you might as well just keep your mouth shut. If you're going to bitch and complain, number one, you better vote.
Yep.
And number two, even if you want to take it one step further, take some action steps on what the resolution is.
Yes.
And what you're complaining about. Because everybody can whine, everybody can complain, but really, what is really going to turn that bitching and complaining into something a little bit more positive is, number one, to vote. And many of us do not.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to say the majority of us don't take those action steps in order to bring those complaints or bring what you have grief about into action steps on making those better. And those could be writing to your MPP. Those could be launching initiatives, whatever that looks like. So again, let's not just stand on a soap podium and just, complain and whine. If it really bothers you, take action steps in doing that. And the first thing of that is to vote.
Yeah, make your voice heard. That's exactly it. And with that said, because we're supposed to have the rate announcement next week, right?
Yeah.
My guess is we're going to hold. That is now my guess with these unemployment numbers coming out and everything like that. My guess is the rates are going to hold.
Yeah, and I'm gonna disagree with you. I'm gonna
Really?
say because of these unemployment numbers, we're actually going to see it drop. I believe that now, and you touched that, we're still talking about a recession, and now we're going into a recession. And do keep in mind that if Canada is in a recession, what does happen is that our overnight lending drops because it wants to stimulate spending.
Penny.
So I feel that we're going to see a drop. So let's see what happens September 17th, I believe it is, 6 days
Yeah.
away.
Yeah.
But again, if you take a look at a lot of the stats that came out with unemployment, and when you take a look at those stats, it really is in favor of a rate decrease come September 17th.
So you don't think that
And remember, again, if you guys are on the brink of purchasing something or doing something financially and you are choosing a fixed rate,
right?
These rate announcements don't have a lot of impact on fixed rates. They have all the impact on anything that has a variable rate or a prime rate that's attached to it.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to say. I was going to say because I think the tariffs are going to hold up. I think the tariffs are gonna hold up. I don't think that the Supreme Court is going to rule against them. I was on the side. Actually, I was strongly on the side that I thought that the Supreme Court would go against them, but just with some recent stuff that has occurred, I just don't think that it's going to happen now. So that's one of my other reasons for thinking that the rates were going to hold.
And you know what? You could very well be right because there just seems to be lots of, there's a lot of ingredients that go into that decision, right? There's the cost of goods, there's inflation, there's what's going on across our Canadian borders that will have an impact on our economy. There's unemployment. There's just a plethora of things that affect that decision. It's not one exact thing. It's like credit,
Yeah.
There's a huge percentage of what you do with your credit that affects your credit score. It's not just paying things on time every time. In fact, I looked at a credit score. It was a 580, which is like a D minus. And
that's not good.
I took a look at the credit and I'm like, what's going on with this? And this particular individual, his credit was paid on time every time, but he had a lot of credit and everything was maxed out. So it wasn't, and we always say your credit is a report card on how you repay your debt, but it's also on how you manage your debt, right? So again, just like these decisions that the Bank of Canada makes with regards to the overnight lending rate, there's several things that are in play that determine it. But you know what? I'm going to say that we are going to see that drop. So let's see if you or I are correct.
Because I hope you're correct on this one. I'm pulling for you, Jeff, on this one.
Well, you know what? I want to transition this into again, topping off what we were talking a little bit about immigration.
I think this is good.
Here in Canada, statistically speaking, we do have a lot of immigrants here in Canada that are new to Canada, that are working hard, that do have working visas, that may be waiting for their permanent residencies or actually have their permanent residencies and are in a position to wanting to buy a home or have questions about, hey, can I even buy a home? So, again, this pod is for all our immigrants that are out there that have questions about purchasing a home, or anybody that has a network that there's a lot of permanent residencies that permanent residents that you know, or people that are in Canada on work visas. This is a great pod that they need to listen to because there's going to be some answers.
I have a
to their
quick
questions.
question for you on permanent residency, right? So I know like back in the day, like it was just quickly drive over the border. Once you got it, drive over the border, come back over, and you were good.
Or
Is it
marry somebody.
or marry somebody? Yeah. Now, is the border thing still okay? I was because I'm wondering just with everything that's going on with our two countries and or not our basically this US versus everybody else and the immigration thing and all that sort of stuff. I was wondering, are they finding trouble getting across and then getting back over to get their PR satisfied?
Um, I don't know.
Oh, okay.
What is your question?
Well, I don't know because is it still able to just hop across the border and then hop back over here and now your PR once you get your PR card, is
Well,
it?
I'm not. Yeah, I don't know. So are you asking me, hey, I have a permanent residency card. I'm now crossing the border into the US and now I'm coming back. Is it easy?
Well, yeah, no, because that's how it used to be. Like you when you got from what from my understanding, because I'm not a I never I was born here, right? So when I was dealing with people that were waiting for their PR card,
Yeah.
right? When they got it, I guess in order for it to be active, they had to cross the border and then come back over. And all they would do is they just drive over to Seattle, like drive over the border and then come back and literally just turn around and come back in.
Yeah. You know how I would answer that, Alistair, is I'm a financial
Oh yeah, I guess
advisor
that
or a
right.
mortgage
Not an
broker, not an
immigration advisor.
immigration lawyer.
Right. Okay. Well, I thought
So
you
I don't
dabbled in
know.
that on the side.
I don't know.
I've
That's
got to
something
stop
that,
sending you to
again, you
people.
would have to talk to an immigration specialist.
I got to
I
stop
would
sending
say that
people to
if
you
you're
then.
getting your permanent residency here in Canada, once you have that permanent residency, you can move across. You're kind of good to go. And
Apparently it wasn't activated.
I don't see how it would finalize from you crossing from Canada to the US and coming back
Apparently, but
and then all of a
apparently
sudden
that's what used to that's like I because I remember especially during COVID, right? When people were just like people were saying I have to get my PR and then I have to drive across the border and then come back over in order for it to be activated. And I always thought that was crazy. But I was born here, so I have no idea. I'm Canadian.
me, I've never heard of that. So
Hmm.
anyways, let's
Anyways,
let's keep this
let's
on
get back on track, Jeff.
side, and then you can basically ask me anything on the financing side. I should be able to answer for you. But at the end of the day, anybody that has a work visa, anybody that is a permanent resident, the answer to your question is, can I get a mortgage? The answer to your question is yes. There are special programs here within Canada that if you're new to Canada, that you're able to get a mortgage. Now, a lot of times when you're new to Canada, or even here on a work visa, you don't have a credit history, right? Your credit history is either in the country that you've come from, or it's very new here because you just got here or you haven't been here for a long period of time. So we've often discussed is that your credit is as equally as important as your income, right? So we often have discussed that, hey, you can be making $1 million, have poor credit, and the lenders are not going to recognize your income to be $1. So people will then ask, well, if I have no credit, how are they going to recognize my income? Which is a great question. But this is when you're new to Canada, and I'm going to say less than 5 years, is that you can basically give the lender what they call alternate credit. And alternate credit could be a history of rent payments, could be a history of utility payments. It is alternate credit that we can provide to the lender to say, hey, yes, Mr. X and Mrs. Y are new to Canada. They have no reporting credit, but we can show this alternate credit to establish that they have good repayment history. So again, anybody that is new to Canada, and you do not have a credit, you do not have established credit, or you do not have credit reporting, we can basically use alternate credit in order for you to qualify for a mortgage with one of the 3 Canadian insurers. The other thing to understand is that some lenders are more favorable working with new to Canada than others. So again, maybe one lender is going to be a little bit more conservative on how they handle newcomers to Canada, whereas some others are going to invite that newcomer to Canada and that mortgage product a little bit more favorably. But again, and just to kind of talk about what we were saying about credit, it is very important that anybody that is new to Canada is that you start to establish your Canadian credit. And how you do that, and we go back to, again, what is that rule, Allister?
222.
And what does that mean?
2 credit cards, 2 years of payments, and $2,000 or minimum.
Exactly. So again, a lot of times people will need to get secured credit cards to start. And what a secured credit card is that you're going to a financial institution. They're not comfortable giving you a credit card because you're new to Canada. What they then will say is, well, hey, let's do a secured credit card. And that usually starts with you giving them $500, which is the money that allows them to give you that credit card. And it pretty much is kind of like a little bit of a hedge fund for them, that if you are not good with your secured credit card, they can simply just go with the money that you gave them, pay off your credit card, and then cancel it, right? So that's a secured credit. It's secured by money that you have given the financial institution. So as you get a secured credit card and you now are starting to establish that you can use it and that you can pay it on time every time, then at some point that secured credit card will get to be what they call unsecured. And then all of a sudden that begins your credit history. Now you increase that limit from 500 to say 1,000, or from that 1,000 to 2,000, but that's how you start to build it. Always important, again, to pay your bills on time every time. Now, that also doesn't mean that you're going to have great credit, as per my example to this individual that had a credit score of 500. But here is where that individual went wrong, is that every credit card or trade line, which is another fancy name saying debt, was maxed out. It wasn't that they weren't paying it on time every time. They were just maxed out in everything. So in order to keep your credit in a high credit score, or an acceptable credit score, which is a credit score of 680, you always want to keep your balances within 30% of your limit. So again, Allister, if you have a $2,000 limit in your credit card, what should your balance be?
$1,700.
Your balance should be $600, because that's 30%.
Oh, sorry. I was my bad.
Let's try you again. If you have $1,000 limit,
$300.
30% of
$300.
$300, exactly. So again, keeping the balances under 30% of your limit, very, very important. And again, remember, lenders want to see you have 2 years of credit with 2 forms of debt. And again, that could be a credit card, that could be a loan, that could be a car loan, but it has to be reporting for 2 years. And then again, that you have limits of no less than 2,000. Now again, those who are new to Canada might say, well, I don't even have credit. And this is where we go back to what we were talking about with alternate forms of credit, such as rent history, utility payment history, even a gym membership in its history, ICBC payments in its history. But again, we're shooting for that 1 year and then ultimately that 2-year credit history. Next
That's perfect. Sorry, I was going to say, my lousy Jeff, I was actually reading ahead on something. That's what, when you asked me that question about the 20%, because the work permit, I just wanted to I was going to say there that you need 183 days of validity remaining on your work permit to be valid for that, to be valid for a mortgage.
Yeah. So your work visa has to basically be within 180 days. Yes. It
Yeah,
can't be expired
right.
or,
Or
again,
coming up.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
So in regards to down payment, folks, if you any newcomer to Canada or really anybody that's purchasing their first home, it is a minimum of 5% down on the first 500,000, 10% on the remainder. Now, also keep in mind, just because you're a newcomer to Canada doesn't mean you're automatically going to be approved. You still need to
right.
qualify based on what your income is, based on what your debts are, which then dictates the down payment. What I don't want newcomers to Canada be taken away from this pod is, well, I heard that I heard that I don't need credit and I only need 5% down, and because I'm a newcomer to Canada, I'm able to get a mortgage. That is not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that if you don't have credit, there are ways that we can use alternate credit for the lender. As far as a down payment goes, you can put down as little as 5% as a newcomer to Canada on the first 500,000, 10% on the remainder, providing that you qualify for the mortgage that you're looking for based on the income that you're earning,
Right.
right?
So
Any
you have to pass the
questions in
stress
that,
test.
Alistair?
Nope. So you have to pass the stress test.
You have to pass the stress test. So there's no mortgage product that says, "Hey, I'm a newcomer to Canada. You know what? There's not a magic mortgage that just allows you to purchase. You still need to qualify like every other Canadian. Your down payment in regards to a first-time home buy is like every other Canadian. Your debt servicing is like every other Canadian. Where I'm coming with this is that you may not need a credit history because you're so new to Canada, it has yet to be established, and that there are mortgage products for newcomers to Canada. And typically that's any Canadian, not any Canadian, any immigrant that has been here less than 5 years.
Yeah. I was going to make a joke and say the Trudeau mortgages are gone, but that's for a
Hey,
different
even a
book.
Trudeau wasn't
I know,
wasn't on
I
board.
know, I know, I know. That's what I'm saying. I'm just joking.
I know. So here's the other thing too, folks, and newcomers to Canada is really very, very similar to first-time home buyers,
Yeah,
right? Because the only difference is if you're a Canadian, you're a first-time home buyer, you have to have established credit.
yeah,
Okay. The difference between being a newcomer to Canada is that you don't necessarily have to have that established credit. But you still need to qualify based on your income. You still need to qualify based on your debts if it's applicable. You still need to qualify based on the down payment. But also there's those incentives and programs that are out there to first-time home buyers and newcomers to Canada that are going to help them purchase. And that's, again, that first-time home buyer incentive. And again, that's I think it's a contribution of $8,000 or $6,000 a year, up to a period of 8 years. There's the BC property transfer tax relief, which is again you're exempt from the first 500,000. That's your property transfer tax. There's the utilization of RSPs if you have it. That's up to $60,000. So a lot of these programs, if they're utilized, basically save up your down payment quite quickly. And really, that's all I really wanted to talk about. So if you are a newcomer to Canada, there are mortgage products for you. Um, so don't let anybody tell you that there's not, because we've had many conversations with people that are new to Canada or just about to get their permanent residencies or do have work visas. And for whatever reason, they are under the belief that they're not able to get a mortgage here when they are in Canada, which is absolutely not true.
that's wild.
Yeah. Ciao,
Huh.
bella. I'm gone. Arrivederci.
Arrivederci. That's amazing, man. Well, there you go. That was a pretty darn good episode, packed full of information for mortgages for new immigrants, and a little bit of a rant on how we are losing jobs here in British Columbia and our poor students are out of work. And but it's gonna get better, folks. That's what I'll tell you. There's always darkness before the dawn. That's how it goes, right?
Yeah. In
Yeah.
every storm, you come out, you eventually come out at some point.
At some point, and I'll tell you, when that storm's over, it's sunshine and warm and great.
Yeah.
So that's what everybody needs to hold on to, man. We're gonna be okay. We just have to continue to educate ourselves, right? Continue to act on our needs, not listening to the media, not listening to the trials and perils of your friends and all of that sort of stuff. Because when everybody's going through bad times, you're only going to hear horror stories, which is going to make you terrified of everything. So focus on yourselves, focus on what's doing right for you, right? And focus on sharing good news to those people around you. If you were able to purchase a home because of these incentives, and share that with others, because you know what? Somebody with doom and gloom, somebody that's been only listening to doom and gloom, probably didn't hear about those things. And if they didn't hear about those things, then they couldn't act on something that would have helped them. So if you've got good stuff going on, we've got so much negative going on in the world. If you got good stuff going on, man, tell the world about it. Tell everybody you know about it. And when it comes to our elections, again, rather than complaining and bitching and moaning, do something positive, right? Help out the person, help out the leader that you think is going to do the best job. Be their vocal advocate. Talk great things about them. Speak of the great things that they've done for you. It's all about positivity, people. That is what makes our world run. That is the juice that makes this engine go. And with that being said, we are going to be away for the next 2 weeks because Geoff is taking me out to Italy, if you guys have forgotten. That's why I've been practicing our Italian, and Geoff has not. I've got to be there now to make sure I walk him around and get him through there without ending up in the gypsy camp. So watch out for those gypsies, Geoff. Yeah. Do you have your fanny pack?
I do.
Okay, good. Keep it on your chest, not on your waist and stuff like that. Keep it on your chest so that way if they're trying to feel your massive pectoral muscles, you'll know, right? Yeah. You'll see it coming, right? So stay away from the gypsies. Have an amazing time, my man. Be safe. And with that being said, we're going to miss you all for the next 2 weeks, but we can't wait to be back here with you for episode number 72. We always appreciate your love out there. We appreciate your comments. Continue to love, like us, and share us with everybody you know. And until then, most importantly, stay empowered, stay informed, and Geoff, my man, stay tuned. That's right, baby. Stay tuned. Peace out.